Hey, I want you to think about something. You've probably tried a to-do list at some point in your life. Maybe you're using one right now. You know the feeling. You write down everything you need to do. You feel organized. You feel in control. But then something strange happens. A week goes by, 2 weeks go by, and suddenly that list isn't motivating anymore. It's depressing. You're staring at 40 things you haven't done. You feel guilty. You feel overwhelmed. And eventually, you stop using the list altogether. Here's the problem. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you don't want to get things done. It's because your to-do list is lying to you. It's telling you that everything is equally important. It's telling you that you can do all of it. But here's the truth nobody talks about. You can't do it all, because time is the one resource you absolutely cannot create more of. Think about it. You have 24 hours in a day. That's it. That's your total budget. When you create a to-do list without connecting it to a calendar, you're pretending that time doesn't exist. You're creating an endless wish list and then blaming yourself when you can't complete the wish list of your dreams. Let me give you an example. Sarah is an office manager. She makes a to-do list every Monday morning. She writes down 23 tasks. Some of them are quick, some of them take hours, some of them are actually spread across multiple days. But her to-do list doesn't show any of that context. It doesn't show that she has back-to-back meetings on Wednesday afternoon. It doesn't show that she's supposed to give a presentation on Friday. It just says, do these 23 things. By Thursday, Sarah is stressed. By Friday, she's exhausted. And by Monday, she's made a new list and forgotten about what she didn't finish. Sarah isn't failing because she's not trying hard enough. She's failing because her system doesn't respect the constraint of time. And here's the thing. This is happening to millions of office workers right now. You might be one of them. But here's the good news. Once you understand why to-do lists collapse without a calendar system, you can fix it. And that fix will change how productive you are, how stressed you feel, and how much you actually accomplish. So stick with me. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why time is the missing piece, and you're going to know exactly how to integrate your tasks with your calendar so you never feel overwhelmed again. Okay, let's get really clear about something. A to-do list is a dream. A calendar is a reality check. And when you don't connect them, you live in a fantasy world where you have unlimited time. Let me break down what happens in your brain when you make a to-do list. Your brain is in what we call the planning mode. You're thinking about all the things that matter. You're thinking about projects. You're thinking about goals. But here's what your brain is not thinking about: the actual time required to do those things. Studies show that people are naturally optimistic about how long tasks will take. It's called the planning fallacy. We think we can do more in less time than we actually can. So you write down 10 tasks. You think, oh, I can get through all of that in a day. But then reality hits. That email thread takes 40 minutes longer than you expected. That meeting runs over. Someone asks you to help with something else. And suddenly, you're not on track anymore. Now here's where the calendar comes in. A calendar forces you to be realistic. A calendar says you have 8 working hours today. You have a 1-hour meeting at 9. You have a 30-minute call at 2. That leaves you with about 6.5 working hours. That's your actual budget. Once you see that constraint, everything changes. Think about money for a second. If you had a paycheck, you wouldn't spend it without checking your bank balance first, right? You'd look at how much you actually have, and then you'd decide what to buy. But that's exactly what we do with time. We spend our time without ever checking our time budget. We just assume we have enough. Here's what's really happening. When you use only a to-do list, you're treating time as if it's infinite. You can just pile more and more tasks onto it, and they'll all somehow get done. But when you integrate a calendar, you're acknowledging that time is finite. You're saying, I have this much time available, and I need to allocate it intentionally. Let me give you another example. Imagine you're at work on a Monday morning. You have 6 important tasks. You could write all 6 on your to-do list, but that doesn't tell you when you're going to do them. Are you doing all 6 today? This week? This month? Without a calendar, you don't know. So you just feel the weight of all 6 tasks sitting on your shoulders, and none of them feel done because they don't have a time anchor. Now, modern technology can actually help you here. Artificial intelligence tools can now analyze your calendar, look at your task list, and predict how long certain types of work actually take for you. Some AI scheduling assistants can automatically block time on your calendar for deep work tasks based on your past productivity patterns. They can look at your typical day, understand your meeting load, and suggest realistic deadlines for your projects. They can even warn you when your schedule is overbooked before you commit to something. But even without AI, the principle is the same. You have to connect your tasks to actual time blocks on your calendar. You have to see the constraint. You have to acknowledge that time is real and time is limited. Here's what happens when you do this. Suddenly, that overwhelming to-do list becomes manageable. Instead of 23 floating tasks with no timeline, you have specific work sessions scheduled. You have one task from 2 to 3 on Wednesday. You have another task from 10 to 11:30 on Thursday morning. It's specific, it's real, and it's achievable. That's when your to-do list stops being a source of anxiety and starts being a source of power. So now the question is, how do you actually do this? How do you take your to-do list and integrate it with your calendar so that it actually works? The first step is to list everything, and I mean everything. Every task, every project, every commitment. Get it all out of your head and onto a list. Don't worry about the calendar yet. Just list it. This is important because your brain is not a good storage system. Your brain is a good thinking system. So use a list for storage and use your brain for thinking. This gets all the mental clutter out of the way. Now here's where it gets interesting. For each task on your list, you need to estimate how long it actually takes. And this is where most people fail. They estimate too optimistically. So here's my advice. Take your estimate and add 30%. If you think something takes an hour, schedule 90 minutes. If you think something takes 2 hours, schedule 2 hours and 30 minutes. This buffer accounts for the planning fallacy. This accounts for interruptions. This accounts for the fact that you're human. Some newer AI tools can help with this. If you feed them your tasks and your past calendar data, they can learn how long similar tasks typically take you. They can identify patterns. For example, they might notice that your emails actually take twice as long as you think they do, or that your deep work sessions are more productive in the morning than in the afternoon. They can use those patterns to give you better estimates. Once you have your task list with realistic time estimates, the next step is to look at your calendar. Look at the next week. Look at the time you actually have available. Not the time you wish you had. The time you actually have available after meetings, after existing commitments, after breaks. Now here's where the real work happens. You're going to start assigning tasks to specific time blocks on your calendar. But here's the key. You're not going to assign every task. You're only going to assign the tasks that fit into the time available. Let's say you have a deadline project that takes 8 hours. You have a meeting on Tuesday that takes 2 hours. You have a presentation on Wednesday. That means you probably don't have 8 hours available this week. So that project doesn't go on this week's calendar. It goes on next week's calendar. And that's okay. That's actually the point. By being realistic about what fits into your available time, you're creating a calendar that you can actually accomplish. You're not setting yourself up for failure, you're setting yourself up for success. Here's what the new workflow looks like. Every morning, you look at your calendar. You see exactly what you need to work on today because it's blocked on your calendar. You work on that thing during that time block, and then you move on to the next one. No more staring at a list of 40 things wondering which one you should do. You already know. It's on your calendar. At the end of the week, you take a look at what you accomplished. You see the time blocks you completed. You see the tasks you finished. And here's the beautiful part. You actually feel accomplished. You're not measuring success against an impossible list. You're measuring success against what you actually committed to doing. Some AI calendar assistants can now automate parts of this process. They can take your to-do list, analyze your calendar, and suggest which tasks should be scheduled for which days based on priority, deadline, and estimated duration. They can even move things around automatically if you miss a time block, pushing them to the next available slot and updating your calendar in real time. They can color code priorities. They can send you reminders before your work blocks start. They can create focus time where no meetings are scheduled so you have protected time for your tasks. But the principle doesn't change. You're connecting your tasks to time. You're being realistic about what you can accomplish, and you're setting yourself up to actually finish things instead of just feeling guilty about them. Let me tell you what happens when you implement this system. It's not magic, but it honestly feels like it. First, you're going to feel less stressed. There's research that shows that unfinished tasks create cognitive load. They sit in your brain and they nag at you all day. When you have a to-do list with 40 things on it, your brain is carrying that weight. But when you have a calendar with 5 specific work blocks scheduled, your brain can relax. Those 5 things are already planned. They're already accounted for. You don't have to remember them or worry about them. Second, you'll be more productive. This works because when you're not spread thin, you can focus deeply on the task in front of you. Deep work requires protected time and a clear objective, which your calendar provides. You sit down at 2 p.m. for the proposal and you have until 3:30 p.m. You can focus, get into flow, and create something meaningful. Third, you're going to finish more things than you commit to. Finishing things is incredibly motivating. It builds momentum, confidence, and changes your relationship with productivity. However, this system only works if you actually use it and respect the calendar as a boundary. If you schedule 30 minutes for a task but allow constant interruptions, the system breaks down. You must protect your time blocks, treating them like meetings, because they are meetings with yourself. What about your current obligations? Don't schedule them all this week. It's okay for tasks to roll to next week or next month. This isn't failure, it's clarity. You're scheduling a task for when you have time, allowing you to actually commit to finishing it. As you adapt, you'll start saying no more often. Why? Because your calendar gives you data. You can see you don't have space for one more project. The bottom line is, a to-do list without a calendar is a fantasy, a wish list, and a guilt generator. But a to-do list with a calendar is a commitment system, a promise to yourself about what you can actually accomplish. Here's your next step. Start this week by estimating the time for your tasks. Then, look at your calendar for the next 2 weeks and schedule only what fits. Don't try to do everything. At the end of the week, notice the difference. Less stress, more focus, and completed tasks. This system works. It's simply acknowledging that time is your most precious resource and treating it like it matters. Start today.